Hey guys, hope you're all doing good out there. I know it's been a while. Life is busy. That's not really much of an excuse, but I think everybody's lives are busy. But life has definitely been busy, and so it's been a bit since I've put a video up on here or whatever. But I just was kind of stirred today, and I felt led to put something up and to talk about something quickly here. And what I want to talk about is I want to talk about faith, and I want to talk about having faith in the storm, in the middle of the storm. And so there's a couple passages of scripture here. I'm not going to get into all of them. I'm just going to reference them. And so the first one they're both from the book of Matthew, the Gospel of Matthew. And so the first one is Matthew 8:23 to 27. And this is the story of Jesus and the disciples. They get in the boat. They're going across the lake, and this storm comes up, and the disciples are freaking out, and Jesus is asleep in the boat, and they're freaking out, and they're like, "We're gonna die. Everything's like we're gonna die. We're all gonna die." And they wake him up, and they're like, "How can you be sleeping at a time like this? We're all gonna die." And Jesus gets up and he rebukes the storm, and he says, "Be silent, be still." And the storm stops, and they're all like, "Whoa." And then Jesus looks at all of them and he says, "Why do you guys have such little faith?" And then they say, "Wow, this guy must really be the Son of God." So that's in Matthew 8:22 to 20 or 23 to 27. Now, if you go ahead to Matthew 14, so there's 6 chapters in between here. Okay? Now, in these 6 chapters, I just wanted to highlight, in these 6 chapters, what takes place in between that first experience with the storm, okay, to this next experience we're going to reference, is Jesus heals demon-possessed people. He heals a paralyzed man. He heals a woman with bleeding. He raises a girl from the dead. He heals blind people. He heals somebody's hand. He heals somebody else who's possessed with demons. And on top of that, to top it all off, he feeds 5,000 people. Okay. With 5 loaves and 2 fish, right? And we know that story. It's quite a common story and it's told all the time. But all of this stuff that I just said, all those amazing, miraculous, supernatural miracles take place between this first experience that the disciples have with the storm and Jesus on the boat and the second experience. And the second experience is in Matthew 14, and it's 22 to 33. And this is when the disciples, this is after they fed the 5,000, the disciples get on the boat. Jesus has gone off to pray. They're out on the lake, and a storm comes up again, and they're freaking out again. There's a storm, and then in the midst of the storm, Jesus is walking on the water towards them. They think it's a ghost. Then they realize that no, it's not actually a ghost. It's actually Jesus. And then he calls to Peter. Peter gets out of the boat. And then he starts to doubt, and he's sinking, and Jesus saves him, and then they get back in the boat. And once again, Jesus says to the disciples, essentially, "Why do you guys have so little faith? Why did you guys doubt?" Now, it's easy to read these stories, to read these passages of scripture, and think of these situations as like these are just these supernatural situations. But the reality is most of these guys that Jesus had, most of the disciples, or at least a portion of them, these guys are fishermen. These guys have been around water most of their lives. These guys have been on boats. These guys have been in storms before. Okay? So I don't think that this was the first time that these guys ever experienced a storm while they were out on the water fishing or while they were in a boat. But they start freaking out, and they're like, "We're going to die," and everything. And they're like, "Jesus, you got to save us." And he keeps talking to them, and he keeps talking to them about their faith. And he's saying, you have so little faith, or in other translations, your faith is so small, or it's so short, right? It's like almost like you got short-term memory when it comes to your faith. And he's saying, "Why did you doubt me?" And the thing that I've taken from this, from reading these passages, and I've spoken to people about this over the last few years, is that what I believe Jesus was doing in these situations is he was testing where their faith was at. Okay? He was testing their faith. Now, what's interesting is that in between the first time in chapter 8 and the second time in chapter 14, like I said, there's demons being cast out of people, dead are being raised, 5,000 people are getting fed. Like, these amazing supernatural things are happening. But here's what I want to say about this. Our faith is strengthened in the experiences of the supernatural. So a lot of times as believers, maybe we'll be in a corporate setting with worship, or someone's bringing forth a word, or those type of settings, or a prayer meeting or whatever, and our faith is strengthened, it's built up, and as it should be. But what I believe is that our faith is tested in the mundane, and it's tested in the day-to-day, okay? It's tested in the natural. So often it's tested in the natural. It's can we believe God for the mortgage payment or the rent payment? Can we believe him for, the bills getting paid on time? Can we believe him for food? Can we believe him for clothing? Can we believe him for just our basic provisions? In my own life, there's been situations in the past where we had vehicles and, they'd break down. And I remember, for some reason, like, I could have faith to go and pray for somebody who was dying of some sort of disease. I could go and lay hands and I could believe in faith that God was going to do it. But then my vehicle breaks down and I'm losing my mind. And I'm like, God, you don't love me. You don't care about me. Like now we're not going to be able to go where we're supposed to go and all this kind of stuff. And I'm losing it. And I'm going, Jesus, where are you? Just like the disciples, right? And then all of a sudden someone calls out of nowhere and says, hey, I've got the part you need and I can come bring it. I can come help you out. And I'm like, what? Oh, okay. And God kind of checks me on that and goes, where's your faith? Like, why did you doubt? Why is it that in the natural, everyday things, you don't trust me with those things? You'll trust me for the supernatural, but when it comes to the everyday and the mundane, where I'm really testing your faith, you don't trust me. And so I hope that this could be an encouragement to somebody out there. I hope this isn't, hopefully this isn't just like a reprimanding thing, but let's be aware of the fact that so many of our day-to-day mundane situations that we go through, circumstances in life, this is where our faith is really tested. Okay? Our faith is built up in the time we spend with God, in the Word, and in our relationship with Him. And our faith is built up in the corporate times of worship and prayer and the Word and in the prophetic and those kind of things, or intercession. That's where our faith is built. That's where it's built up. That's where it's strengthened. But our faith is tested in the day-to-day. It's tested in the mundane, in the ordinary, in the, okay, God, like, are you going to come through or are you not going to come through? And so I believe when he was speaking to the disciples and he's saying to them, where's your faith? Why do you have so little faith? Why did you doubt me? Like, they literally had just come from seeing him feed 5,000 people with 2 loaves of bread and 2 fish, okay? To now they're on a boat and a storm comes up and they're like, we're all going to die. Like, but I feel like for myself, I do that all the time. I can have, like I said, I can have faith for the healing and for those supernatural things and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the day-to-day, when God is really testing my faith of, are you going to trust me? Are you going to believe me? Are you going to follow me even when it's hard, or even when you don't understand, even when it doesn't make sense, even when everything's breaking down and everything seems to be coming against what it is you're trying to do? Are you going to trust me? Are you going to believe? 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 And so let this be an encouragement to you guys that if you're out there, okay, and your faith is being strengthened through corporate settings and through the supernatural, and it's being strengthened, it's being built up. But then you get into your week and there's these day-to-day things and the challenges and the whatever. Look at it as an opportunity to grow your faith even more and to pass that test, because those are tests of your faith. How far does your faith go? How deep does your faith go? How deep does your trust and your reliance in Jesus Christ go? So I hope this is encouraging to you guys. I hope this is thought-provoking to you guys. I know it has been to me. I've been mulling over this for a long time, and I wanted to share it today. So be blessed, guys. Be encouraged, and be in the Word. Study His Word. Learn these things. Learn the truths that he has in his word through your time that you spend in it on a daily basis and the time that you spend with God. So be blessed. Love you guys. We'll talk again soon.